welcome to Greige Against the Machine, the podcast where we celebrate the extraordinary talent and accomplishments of lesser-known and even unknown artists and creatives. I'm Lisa Katara, alongside Justin Harvey, and each week we'll explore the minds and stories of the journeymen and women behind your favorite films, shows, ads, music, and more. Those who craft magic without the red carpet spotlight or public eye, because everyone has a unique story to tell, and sometimes the most inspiring voices are the ones you haven't heard yet. Let's get into it.
Welcome right back. I mean, for some of you, depends on how you're watching this, but we just finished episode 101. We're going right into 102 because
a couple of seconds just to get on back onto the live stream.
Yeah, we're figuring out the kinks in this whole the podcasting thing. And I've done podcasts forever, but we're trying to add an Instagram. Is Instagram working right now? Are people with us?
Instagram is working, but they got to remember to come back.
Oh, because you started another live. So there's an hour timeout thing. So we did a cliffhanger for you guys because we want to make sure that everybody can enjoy this in a reasonable chunk. So if you're coming with us for parts 1 and 2, great. If you're listening to 1 and then going back for part 2, also great. There is definitely some more interesting stuff because we just got to the strike, and that was in 2000.
I know. Yeah.
Not the recent strike, guys. We're talking about the strike that was almost 2 decades
2007.
ago.
Yeah, it's forever
ago.
In the past. It's archaic.
So,
I'm telling you.
Yeah, for me, the strike was crazy. It sent me into reality TV. For you, it probably sent you into a fucking frenzy, into a quandary. That cannot have been a good thing. You were a working actress. Guys, you have to understand. Lisa's my homegirl from a long, long time ago. If you didn't catch the first episode, we've known each other since middle school, a long time ago.
Yeah.
And we were both in Hollywood. We got there through our own separate paths. Different weird things happened to get us both there. And all of a sudden she's there. I'm working on platinum records and I'm getting agents, and she's getting TV show gigs, and I'm seeing her on what was one of the biggest things you had done at that point before the strike?
Well, literally right on top of the strike, just before I had finished, I booked a large guest star that NBC decided to expand the role. When I got to set, I got given a whole second scene and an expansion, working on a comedy. And literally they walked me in. They said, "Hey, we love your work. We want to get you going on the right path. We want to get you an option for a better agent." And I went and I interviewed with these agencies, and then the strike hit, and that was it. And then they dropped all their development. Yeah, of course. It was Till Death with Brad Garrett. It was forever ago, and it was freaking
funny show. That was the thing you did where you were the yoga instructor or whatever?
It was the yoga instructor. And Brad's brilliant. I mean, you talk about one of the best physical comedy actors. He's come on, and drama. The guy's amazing. But yeah, him and Jolie Fisher and Kat, and I forget the other actor's name. I'm so sorry, but they were amazing. And then, NBC was like, "We're so sorry. We don't know what's going to become this new thing called streaming. We're dropping our developmental talent for time. Come back in about 3 months." 3 became 6. 6 became forever.
Yeah, that's as Greige as it gets.
That's about as Greige as it gets. But in that time, I had made a couple of friends that happened to be stunt performers, and I was already training with them, and it was my training, and they were like, "Come train with us." And little by little, I started learning different disciplines and training with them on a regular basis, to the point that an opportunity came to double a specific actor, and I was right for it. And I got my first gig, and it led to another and another. And it wasn't acting, but it was physical acting, and it was still storytelling. And I enjoyed it because I liked being physical, and I liked the challenge of it.
Right. I get it. So you're like, "Hey guys, I'm hot, I'm young, I'm talented, and I'm willing to throw myself off of a cliff for you now."
I mean,
how do you make that decision?
Not exactly that, but yeah. Well, I was an athlete most of my life. I wasn't just a band geek.
That's true. That I will attest. I said that in episode 101. We were riding bikes, and Lisa was 3 blocks ahead of me at all times.
So it was like, "Hey, I'm getting paid to do sports, but without actually making any contact." You're constantly missing. I don't know. It never, for a long time, and I'm like having to go back to who I really am, because it's kind of a weird time right now. We're not exactly feeling ourselves, but for a long time, it never occurred to me that I couldn't do things. I would get it in my head, and if I can see myself accomplishing it, I would do it. That's it.
Okay, so you're an actress, and you were catching like real shit parts, and then you're doing stunt performing, and I do call it stunt performing and not stunt working because it's still a performance in my opinion.
It is. It very much is.
At that point in time, and this is when we were talking a little bit too, and I didn't know either what the future was for you at that point in time. Like, did you think that you were completely go stunts? Did you think that you were going to completely act? And honestly, since then, you've really done both the whole time, right?
Yeah, I've been. There was a time when like you couldn't do both. Like it was kind of frowned upon. Like if you were a stunt performer, oh, surely you couldn't act. And if you were an actor, then you're not really a professional stunt performer. But that's bullshit. There's a ton of people who excel at both. Being able to do both at the same time and use both halves of your brain and not hurt people is kind of a specialty skill. And I managed to kind of work that line. So I was getting to do both things on occasion. It wound up being a lot more stunts than acting, as the roles went to name talent, even in guest stars and co-stars, after the writer's strike of 2007. But I just love it. Like I fucking love my job. I do. It's so crazy fun.
You love getting set on fire and thrown off buildings and trying to act in a dramatic scene. You love all of these things.
Yeah.
Yes.
Why am I single?
Right? Exactly. Look, guys, I don't know if like her DMs are going to be blowing up now. Just
no,
be kind.
Don't bother. Don't bother. Listen, we have
don't bother. And then she asks why she's single, and then she says, "Don't bother."
GATMpod@gmail.com. You
right.
Send it there.
Send it there. Because then you're going to be talking to me.
That's right. I got a buffer.
I will make sure. I will personally vet and make sure that they're okay.
God, I love you. Oh my God.
The emails hit your desk. And I'm not gonna lie. I have talked to a lot of people about this, and in my capacity as a producer and director, I've worked with a lot of female talent, and I've gotten a lot of female talent more respect than I think that they were being afforded before. I got to work in certain situations with them, and I will tell you that the DMs that the average female talent gets are despicable. I think that's the best word I could use. Despicable. I've never seen so many pictures of dudes D's and DMs and things that do not like. What? And we're talking about other Greige people. We're talking about working Greige, for those who didn't catch the first episode. That's the working class Hollywood term that Lisa kind of coined and we're using for the show, but it's appropriate. Like we're in that kind of beige, gray,
not famous, established and career professional, like working career professionals.
But we're accomplished.
Yeah.
Like Lisa's autographed some things. Like there are people who know she, right. I've been nominated for some Emmys. Like we've done things, but at the same time,
4 Emmys, as a matter of fact.
but at the same time, we're not Matt Damon. You don't know who I am walking down the street. No one is.
Right.
Every now and then, someone will be like, "Hey."
Those are the stories I want. Like I don't know if I'm just a weirdo, but when I walk around Hollywood and New York and everywhere that I've been, I see people as individual storylines. Like it's fascinating to me. I spend copious amounts of time, even like editing photography, because I'm a photographer. I'll sit in cafes for hours just listening to people's conversations and their stories and their journeys. And God damn, pretty much everybody's got one. It's amazing.
You are a friggin' photographer too. In fact, you see all this beige
I would love to.
Here. This is actually where, some of us aren't working a ton right now, so they haven't bought some of Lisa's artwork to go here on my new wall back in Cleveland, Ohio.
Now you can have anything that come on, man, you're my homie.
I like to respect my artist friends and pay them the tens of thousands or tens of tens that they deserve.
Absolutely. That's how much it costs.
And I want to get into your photography too. And this is why we had to have 2 episodes, because guys, geez. there's so much. Like, Lisa can sing, Lisa can act, Lisa can stunt perform, Lisa is a monster with a camera. But I got to finish some of the acting stuff. So, okay. Before we even get more into the stunts thing, because some of the stunts are the coolest things in the world. Acting wise,
yes.
What would you say is your biggest accomplishment in that world? And being the Greige that you are, do you actually appreciate that accomplishment as art, or do you think, meh,
it was work?
And I've asked other people this before, but this isn't not an easy question. I'm totally digging deep on you now.
Yeah. The work, it doesn't necessarily mean it was a big role or a memorable role. It doesn't necessarily mean I worked with somebody of a certain stature. For me, it starts with the writing. And I know I have a colleague who's watching right now on Instagram who is a brilliant writer who started as an actor. And it starts with him. Like, it starts with their ideas becoming 3-dimensional and giving us the paints to create and understand the characters that they created, but with our own voices. So for me, it's about the work. It's about doing good fucking work. I don't worry about the business end. I don't worry about the Wall Street dividends. I worry about being present and helping elevate, whatever it is on set I need to elevate in order to be a part of the painting at the end of the day. Having said that, I am jaded. I am respectfully jaded, because I think one of the last few jobs I did here in Atlanta was with a big name actor, and no names. This one I won't say. I don't want to get hunted and killed. Metaphorically, I spent a good 16 hours in a very small space, pretty much on camera, because it was just the 2 of us for the most part, and they read off the teleprompter for the whole time. And my soul was like, cool. And
like, this is huge. Like, and also,
your friend, you worked with so-and-so. How was it? It's great.
Yeah, it's awesome, guys.
So blessed, so grateful. Will I put it on my reel? No.
I don't even have a reel, because for me, it's so weird. Like, after all this stuff that I talked about in the first episode, I very quickly after I went into reality TV, they were like, hey, bro, you're more than an audio guy. Because I was doing audio at first. Like, I had been a scripted writer, but I had also been an audio engineer in the rock
your
world.
Charisma, you were doing things in another department without being asked.
I was doing stuff that no one should have been doing. So here's some insight into the business at the time. I was working for $200 a day flats when I started doing audio and reality TV.
Oh, wow.
This is completely illegal, by the way. And I hate to put the company on blast that I was working for, but actually I don't mind at all. Pilgrim Films and Television. I've worked for Pilgrim. Yeah, Craig Pelagian owns so much stuff. He's not going to care. He's going to look at me or look at this and be like, that guy's funny. I love that guy.
Great.
He doesn't care. He does not care. Like, he used to walk around the building where we all worked, and he would say, what's your name again? And what do you do for me? Like,
that is so cool.
And the man, I never heard more expletives come out of one person's mouth. He actually said F-ity F-F with the actual words. I don't want to get us flagged on YouTube too soon, but in a meeting, and cursed me out and whatever. Told me to get my friggin' feet wet the next time I was doing something, and then found out that it was totally the editor that had botched something, and I had given him exactly what he asked for. But reality TV, I got into it as an audio guy, but I started doing the interviews. We on that American Hot Rod show, that first show that I did, our supervising producer, Ian Jones, who was one of my mentors, he left towards the end of the show because Pilgrim pulled him from our show and told him, go make Girl Meets Cowboy. And he was the supervising producer and like director on this show, Girl Meets Cowboy. So I was the lead audio guy. And then this guy, Kip Robbins, who's a dear friend of mine, who we probably should have on here at some point in time. Cool. He does Naked and Afraid and a bunch of other shows.
Oh, right on. Yes, definitely.
Yeah, people love talking about Naked and Afraid.
I have
like,
questions.
Are they really? What are they? Oh, like we can ask Kip all those questions. He's been there. But it was me and him, and he's another kid from Ohio, by the way.
No way.
And they were just like, okay, Ian's not showing up. Guys, go make the show. So I'm the audio guy. I'm writing down all the logs for what's on the tapes. I'm writing all the notes. I'm calling post. I'm doing the interviews. He's filming them. I'm holding the boom mic, recording the audio, and I'm asking the talent all the interview questions. We're making the entire show. I make $200 a day flat at that point in time. Didn't matter if we worked 6 hours or 14.
Wait, gasp. You were exploited?
Absolutely. Didn't care either because I loved it, but absolutely it was horrible. And eventually I went off on Ian once he came back. We did this thing out at the Bonneville Salt Flats where I was out there for 16 hours and I threw down my boom mic at the end. I was like, this is some bull crap, man. I'm not doing this anymore for $200.
I'm never coming back 2 weeks later.
Little did I know it was completely illegal from what I understand. And like all the and I can put Pilgrim's name in this because they weren't the only ones doing it at the time. Gurney was doing it, Relativity was doing it, all the big ones. I don't care who they were. Anybody
legal
named
to
Tom,
find out what our responsibility is.
Yeah, Tom Beers, Tom Foreman, all of them were doing these things because they thought they could. And then when somebody was like, hey, you can't do that, that's against the law, then they started paying us more hourlies and overtime and this.
Funny how that works. Well, you're not special in, being thrown into shitty situations where no one has a clue and you have to make it work. It's kind of the basis for getting shit done,
Well, it's part of my whole like be prepared for luck thing that I said before. And
we're going to put that on a t-shirt.
And we should. Yeah. What happened for me was they called me up one day and they were like, hey, can you go produce this FBI thing? We had to fire the director off of it. So you're going to be our field producer director and blah, blah, blah. Here's a contact name. Go make the show.
Nice.
That's it. There was no breakdown. There was no rundown. Like I called this co-EP or supervising producer who was in post, and he was like, yeah, we need a segment about ballistics and this, that, and the other thing. And, you're going to interview this guy that they've arrested and blah, 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 and get us a shot with a lot of drugs and money and guns on the table.
Fun.
That was like the whole directive. And I went and made this thing and it came out awesome. But then after that, they were like, okay, you did that. You're not really an audio guy anymore. Or if they did send me, they have what's called shooter producers, which are cameramen who are also producing. I became an audio shooter producer where I was doing audio and producing.
Yeah.
But the money went up.
Yes.
Was no longer making $200 a day. And if I was doing audio for them, I would get an audio soup credit. There was a show, Street Customs, where I actually got paid more than the DP.
What was that one?
It was the guys from Pimp My Ride when they got their own show.
It was automotive, right?
Yeah, it was car build show, but it was like, street rides. It was hip hop stuff.
Yeah, fun.
With Ryan Friedlinghouse, another Ohio guy.
We're everywhere.
Big Dame, his sidekick. But it was the guys who did all the cars on the original Pimp My Ride before Galpin Ford took it over.
I remember we were talking when you were working on that.
Yeah,
I was just starting to drive on TV and film, and you were doing auto shows. I was like, oh man, we should totally do something together.
I did a ton of them too, but that one was like, I didn't want to do it. I had done American Hot Rod. I know, standing on concrete with a 50-pound audio bag for 10, 12 hours a day, it is pain. It's just not fun. And I wanted to do other stuff. I'd already done a couple other things. So the line producer calls me and I'm like, yeah, Lee, I'm not going to take this job. I'm sorry. And she's like, okay, but just for shits and giggles, what would it cost you? And so I was like, give me a minute. I called the DP. I was like, dude, what do you make? Just tell me what you make to do this show. And he was like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I called her back. I was like, I quoted the DP's number. This is a guy who's done commercial work, who's been around forever. He was one of the highest paid guys at Pilgrim. And I'm like, I quoted his number. And I said, plus, if I'm doing backups of audio and all this stuff on the drives and this, that, and the other thing, I get overtime for every minute of that. I want all the 7th day, time and a half, double pay, all this stuff. And Lee was just like, yeah, I get it. You really don't want the job. That's fine. Don't worry about it. I get it. You're not going. Thanks for even entertaining it. We're not going to give you the job.
Nothing
whatever.
to lose.
She calls Craig Pelagian, the guy who owns Pilgrim Films and Television, and he said, yeah, pay him. Give it to him.
Oh, God.
Make him do the show. Just make him do the show. So she calls me back and she's like, you're hired. And I was like, no, I'm not, Lee. I told you all this stuff because I don't want the job. I thought we got that joke. Like, it was funny. And she's like, no, we're going to give you all of that and you're going to do the show. And I was like, oh my God, Craig wants me to do it that bad. And he did,
but all be winners. Yeah.
What I had done was I developed all their digital audio for Pilgrim. They hadn't, for people who don't know, audio on these reality shows used to be a mixer that went live to the actual cameraman through a wire. A guy ran behind the cameraman, connected to him, and you mixed it live to tape. And that's what ended up on the air, especially for reality shows. Well, there had been a shift when the OC and a couple of those shows started using a thing called a Kantar, which came from this French company, Aton Kantar. And Craig Pelagian from Pilgrim bought 3 of these things, very expensive. They were supposed to be for films. And he was like, okay, use this. I want digital recordings of all this stuff so we can mix it later and do the stuff in post. And I was like, that's a brilliant idea. My pack ended up weighing 52 pounds. No one had used this for run and gun before us. It was a cart mixer thing like you see, like I'm sure you've dealt with on the movies. Guys roll up with a cart. They sit down for 10 hours a day, and everyone's waiting for them because they always have to tweak something at the last minute as soon as the actual actors are in place and want to do something. The audio guy always fucks it up somehow. It's a big joke, waiting on audio. I don't know why, but it's true. Right?
Well, I mean, come on. Listen, I have a feeling we're going to eat our judgment here because in doing this podcast, you and I, you know how to do this shit. I do not. Waiting for audio, we've done it 3 times tonight. We kept people for part 2 because audio was not right.
Audio's complicated. And I have a friggin' degree in audio engineering. It's still complicated. Like the whole first episode, I used the wrong microphone, guys. It sounds terrible. I should fire myself.
No, I love you. You're stuck. You're hired.
Damn it.
You're hired. No, yeah. By the way, you read my rider, right? Like I'm going to get all those things on my
I know.
On my
yeah. Not the purple M&Ms though. You have to special order those. They take way too long. Can you eat green M&Ms? I'll separate the green ones, but I'm not special ordering the purple one. I feel like
so this is that weird area where I feel like as an actor and a spokesperson, I can never criticize any fucking company's products, services. I can never say dick about specific things, no matter what I actually think. Because what if I get hired?
Right.
And I fucking love M&Ms.
So do I.
Christmas ones.
I have a whole bag of Christmas peanut M&Ms sitting right next to me wherever I go. See, M&M, if you'd like to sponsor the show, please reach out to GATMpod@gmail.com.
I am particularly fond of La Croix. I would not mind some free La Croix.
Okay, I got a fun story for you. Speaking of car shows, so I did one in Kansas, and most of the crew was from LA, so we would drink La Croix, which the crew would call LaCroix, which the Kansas guys would call LA Crotch.
Oh.
They're like, y'all drinking that crotch water again? That LA crotch water?
Yeah.
This is the fun of reality TV. We do stuff for everyone.
We work with a diverse, widespread variety of people from all backgrounds, understandings, education, lack of education, interests, disinterests, judgments.
And I love me some car show guys. But yes, I did.
Okay, I need you as my wingman though, because when I go to auto shows, I wear my swag that says I'm a professional photographer, and I'm one of very few, if not the only one ever, female photographers at these shows, and they take a lot of my time. They love my audience, and I cannot cut them off because I'm not rude, and like I kind of want to know, but then I need a buffer.
Yeah, it's called security.
or security. Yeah.
You need a really jacked dude to be like, yo, back off.
Back the fuck off.
Just leave her. Let her take the picture, dude.
It doesn't work for photography, but yeah, man.
I know.
If I ever get my day job back. This is
Yeah.
Lisa Guitarra live to you from Greige Against the Machine, episode 1, part 2, here with Justin Harvey. Yeah, we're both available for those radio gigs you guys keep saying we're overqualified for.
I used to do those. I went back in the day in Cleveland before I left this town. I was working at the AM partner of NCX or whatever the classic rock station was.
Oh
But
yeah, good shit.
I used to make extra money being the voice of the monster truck rallies.
No way. I know a monster truck driver. I know 2 monster truck drivers in stunts. Hello.
Well, maybe you heard me in Cleveland when they came to town doing Sunday live at the Richfield Coliseum.
That's my bestie.
There'll be 40,000 tons of mud.
Yes.
You'll pay for the whole seat, but you'll only use the edge. I did those
You're
for the better
famous.
part of a year.
You're more famous than I am.
Everybody in Cleveland heard those dumb fucking commercials.
You're so cool. That's so fucking cool.
No, and it was. I would pitch it down so it's super deep. I mean, it was just ridiculous.
I hate to say, but they were recently looking for a host here in Atlanta for one of the monster truck rallies, and I put my stuff in, but like I'm old, but you're cool.
Yeah, I mean, look, I can do it. Like, tell them to hit a brother up. Like,
Hey, I'll pass it along.
I know how to say grave digger, Bigfoot, fire breathing funny cars. I can do all that. Like
you are such a nerd. I love you so much. I do. I love you.
I really should do more voiceover stuff.
Yeah.
You should do voiceover stuff too.
Well, I mean, now that I have my brand new microphone and I'm all souped up to do them, absolutely.
I wanted to get my little boy voice back on, do some comedy. That'd be great.
And now that I'm actually using the right microphone, since I didn't on the entire first episode, Lisa. So I gotta ask you. I want to get into this stunt thing because, you know, I loved that you moved into doing the stunts because all of a sudden then you were driving through cornfields on like my favorite things and getting burned by my friends.
You're a Preacher fan.
I love Preacher was my favorite comic book of all time. My cousin Craig, God bless him, turned me on to it a long time ago. And then they were making it into a TV show. And I'm just chatting with Lisa one day and she's like, yeah, you know, I just did this thing where I drove through some cornfields for this new show. You probably never heard of the thing. And I'm like, so what is it? She's like, oh, it's this adaptation. It's called The Preacher. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, you geeked out. That was so cool.
Oh my God.
You're like, so cool.
I'm so cool. You're cool. Well, you just randomly show up in the things that I'm already watching.
There was a few that every time I did them, like, I know that thing. I'm like, what the hell?
I mean, you're working with Ellen Barkin in that show. What was that show called? I had watched the whole Animal Kingdom.
Yeah,
it had been on for 2 seasons, and then you had like a reoccurring or something. What for
Bridge?
Like 2?
Oh yeah, no, I was so. Animal Kingdom is one of those shows where I did several episodes. I did both acting and or stunts on different episodes. So I got to be there a few times. I think. And
it was season 3, right? For that one, for Animal Kingdom, season.
Sure.
3? What is she's like?
No, was it 2? I thought we went. I honestly don't remember, and I don't look at my IMDb.
And it might have been at the end of 2 into 3. I don't know what they did, but.
Yay! So fun though.
Great show though.
Oh my God, so good. You like good shit. I love Preacher. I only recently got a chance to watch all of Preacher and to watch all of Lucifer and The Bridge and all like it's fucking good. They're so good. These shows.
The Bridge is a show that was cut short too soon, in my opinion.
Thank you. People agree with you. So here's the weird thing about The Bridge. I made friends on that show who were series. Well, okay, fine. This is after the writer's strike. They were series regulars, but the network wasn't paying them as series regulars. So they were called heavily recurring. Yeah. But they were in
That's as great as it gets right there. Wow.
11 of the 12 episodes, but still you
have to bring one of those people on here because we got to talk about that. That's some stuff right there.
But they were all over it. Like it was a show, another one of those shows that came from the UK that wasn't well known here. We started, I was in season 2 and it was really good. There were great people on it. Still friends with half that cast to this day because of just how magical it was. And there was a time when like they were doing live casts to promote the show. but the network wasn't advertising it at all. And we're all like, this is weird. And then they just, by the way, the producer of that show, Elwood Reed, fucking badass, is from Cleveland. He's another Clevelander. Yeah.
See?
I know, he's so cool.
What is it, guys? What is it? Like when I got there, my lawyers ended up being from Cleveland and one of my agents and like.
You can bag on our home city all you want, but it is one of the best cities in America. I don't give a crap.
We're secretly running a large portion of Hollywood that you guys don't know about.
Yeah,
it's the hardworking side. It's the
We could do better though. I do think we could do better, but irrelevant. Who knows now? Who knows?
Okay, so you've done some wonderful projects. You've been involved in some things. Your name has gotten out there.
Allegedly.
I mean, it has.
Yeah, no, listen, I'm grateful. 22 years now I've been in this industry. I love my job. I will never get sick of my job. I'm one of those people that wants to, when I pass away on a Hollywood set somewhere, just doing what I absolutely love to do.
Okay, but I got to ask you then. So what do you want from it now? Being that you have figured out, like I have, that you are working class Hollywood. You're not one of the 5% at the top. You're also not at the bottom. You've had success. You've had accomplishment. You've done things. There are people who know you. You have friends in the business. You might get some more work one of these days. Like, what do you want out of your life in Tinsletown at this point, even though you're in Atlanta?
So, God, Atlanta, I'm so blessed, so grateful. Yeah, bigger picture. I want to keep doing what I love to do, and making a livable income doing it. And I want that for all of us. Things are changing. One of my colleagues who I knew in the industry long before I ever entered the industry is a phenomenal actress, and recently wrote, directed, and produced her film because, the AMPTP, it's impossible to get shit done and it's very expensive, but she stuck her neck out there, mortgaged her home to afford to do it, made a phenomenal piece with some decent name talent and some up-and-comers that were absolutely fantastic. And she had to put it out there, create her own marketing campaign for it. Truly indie film, like literally support indie film. This is where we're going right now. And this is a name talent. I won't mention her. I'd like to get her on the show if she's willing, but she has her own podcast. And no, fuck that. Go watch Fresh Kills. I want to promote her film. Fresh Kills, Jennifer Esposito, fucking phenomenal. Support her, promote her stuff. She's not the only one. There are a ton of name working actors who realize if they want to continue to work and do what they love and make art and entertain people and distract them from daily life challenges, they're going to have to do it themselves. And it is hard to do. It's hard. If you've ever stayed to the end of a huge feature film and you read the cast list and you stay long enough to see everybody all the way down to the dice at the bottom that's either filmed in Hollywood, filmed in Georgia, filmed in New York, wherever it is, you realize it takes a village. It's magic to get something done. But I want to promote these people. I was hoping maybe with this podcast, we might attract those people like us, more people like us who deserve that spotlight and deserve our work to be seen. We'll do it ourselves. Fuck it.
Well, and there's a lot of them out there. I've noticed, like in my industry, I got to tell you guys, like I worked during the pandemic. I worked more than most people. In fact, that show that I got the Emmy nominations for was during the pandemic, and maybe that was part of why, because other people weren't, like the competition was less than, because I got an opportunity. I did a show for Netflix called Fresh, Fried, and Crispy. That my good friend Matt Hoban, who hopefully will come on the show at some point, he was the director and EP on it, and I was a supervising producer. And we went out when it was scary as hell, and we made a phenomenal TV show with this guy, Dame Drops. It was a kind of a cooking show. This guy who was doing car reviews, got found on YouTube. Another Greige that was just out there busting it, making content, and had gotten in a couple of commercials for Popeyes and this, that, and the other thing. Real funny dude. And we built a TV show around this guy, and the Duffy brothers, their production company, put it together, and we just went out and we made it during the pandemic. And I was so fortunate to do this show for Netflix, and it was in their top 10 for a couple of weeks in the whole thing, and didn't get picked up, by the way.
But You were nominated for
We were nominated for
Emmys.
four Emmys.
Yeah.
One of those was
You
for
were
sound
noticed.
design, so I can't really take. Well, I can actually because I helped the sound guy come up with all the sound design. But
isn't that the epitome of success? Like to even get so far as you're on
winning that award
Okay,
would have been the
all right.
epitome of success.
Of course.
But we got nominated for 4 of them.
All right, our barometers are a little different. I'm like,
Well, I mean, true.
To get your name on a call sheet, Justin Harvey, is already a foot in the game. But yeah, obviously to get the end result, because after that you can negotiate your own rates, you can negotiate the projects that you get to work on. It's a new door.
You can, but then the problem is right now, and I've had my name at the top of that call sheet on the production side, not the acting side, but I've been as fortunate enough as to make it all the way up to showrunner, which for those who don't know, that's literally everything is on your shoulders.
Those are the ones that usually don't live past 50, 55 years old. Yeah.
And you can't tell who they, pulling back the curtain, you can't necessarily tell who the showrunner is all the time because it's different in different areas, especially of TV or movies. Like in movies, it's easy. It's the director. The director is the showrunner. In television, the director, not the showrunner. In fact, typically the director changes every episode. Yeah. They focus on their one episode. They create their own thing. Usually the showrunner is the last executive or co-EP that you see on the credits before they show the director's name. So you don't really know for your favorite TV shows like who the showrunner is, but go back and look at Seinfeld and go find where Larry David's name is because he was the freaking showrunner. Yeah. It was his concept. It was his thing. Sometimes the showrunner's getting a created by credit too, but it's a weird.
But so this is where one thing I really, really, really want to accomplish on our podcast, and I hope that we do that with all the help from the guests that we have on here, is paint a bigger picture for the general public who don't work in Hollywood, who have this, who don't understand what it is, how it comes together, what do these titles mean, these department heads mean, why are there 45 producers on a film? Like they don't know what any of this means. Half the time, we don't fucking know what any of this means. Right. But there's a rhyme and a reason to how we get things done in the process to get a film to a theater or to streaming these days. And I hope we can answer those questions.
It's weird. And that's why I kind of stopped to explain it because, that's the apex for unscripted television is the showrunner. And getting there took me a lot of years of, every time I show up for a job, I tell people this all the time, like every time I show up for a job, the title almost doesn't matter. I don't necessarily know what I'm doing. And I don't mean on my end, I mean on the end of their expectation because the title I've had more than anything else is supervising producer, but literally sometimes that means directing, sometimes that means editing, sometimes that means sometimes that means I'm the head writer. Sometimes, especially in unscripted TV, these titles don't mean what you think. We don't have writers and directors in unscripted on half the shows. Yeah. Like one of the shows I did last year, I got a director title, but I was basically the field showrunner. Like I was the top ranking person out there making the actual show, but I was not in post-production on that one. I literally just went out. I directed the actual scenes. I talked to talent. I wrote the episodes. I did the research with another producer that was underneath me. And we put the whole thing together. I went out there. I filmed it. I told the cameraman, shoot this, make it look like this. Give me this angle. Put the drone over here. I talked to the talent. I said, say this and this and this. Let's work on this. And it's still reality TV, but I'm molding the moments. I'm finding the thing about unscripted or reality TV is what we really do is we put people in situations and document how they react.
To it. Yeah.
Don't get it twisted for being reality. I don't just show up at your house with a camera and start filming what you do regularly because I don't want to see you open a box.
Curated. Right. It's
That's not television, guys.
The challenges of the reality that you do, you're dealing with people's emotions a lot. With me, my emotions are often written on the page, but with you, it's raw. How do you navigate that when people?
It's the reason why I've been successful. I will say, and no offense to some of my other reality colleagues that do what they do, they don't connect with the people the same way. I find a lot of the up and coming reality producers, and this is a pet peeve of mine, that will tell people what they need them to say. And when you see those little interview bites, you're watching somebody say something that some producer told them to say, and a lot of times you can
tell.
feel it. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's tricky because there's a format to it, and we need people to say things the right way. Like certain shows, like if you watch Big Brother, they say everything in present tense. Do you know how hard it is to go and do an interview 3 hours later after some competition where you've been slimed and you've been standing there and you've been tortured literally for
Over
2 hours, and you have to now say things in present tense like they're actually happening so they can put them into the show like a thought bubble that came out of your head in the moment. It's not in the moment, guys. That was filmed 4 or 5 hours later in the middle of the night with some producer telling them. So the trick is you have to say to them in the form of a question, hey, when you were standing up there on that ledge, what were you thinking in that moment? And they say, I was thinking, man, this is the hardest challenge I've ever done in my life. So you get the soundbite, man, this was the hardest challenge I've ever done in my life.
Right.
There's a science to doing that and getting that
what you're
in
saying
an active present tense.
We can't trust anything we see.
But you can trust it, because if the producer is good,
I know.
They asked the question in the right way so that the person gave a natural answer.
Absolutely.
Right. The bad producer says, hey, tell me that was the toughest moment of your life when you were standing up there then. That was the toughest moment of my life. No, say it present tense. This is the toughest moment. That's bad producing. Good producer says, man, what were you thinking in that moment where I could see your hands turning red and you felt like you were just going to fall down to the ground?
See, that's exciting because you're like, oh, you saw me. You paid attention to me. It's big.
But I also am planting the idea of what I want them to regurgitate, which is describing to me that moment of clinging to that wall in that thing, and do it present tense.
You ask them to tell their story.
You have to be very smart, because what I'm doing in that interview, I'm writing.
Yes. Yeah.
And I'm doing it like this.
On the fly.
In the moment. On the fly. I'm writing. I'm doing the same thing a screenwriter does. I'm saying the action in this scene needs to carry me to this scene for this payoff. It needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I need this person who is not savvy to TV, who is not savvy to what the audience needs to hear, to convey that back to me without me sitting here and explaining to them for 25 minutes how this works. And
right.
On shows like Food Paradise that I did 60-something episodes of.
Okay, food shows, anything can change and go wrong. And
all the time. They're nuts. But on that show specifically, like every day, new restaurant, new chef, new customers. It's like diners, drive-ins, and dives.
Justin, you were having the time of your life. You had master chefs cooking for you on a regular basis while I was like, almost for the poor, please.
Yeah.
Good for you.
All the time. All the time. But it was crazy. Every day, new restaurant, new chef, and then we do customer interviews at the end of the day. It's like diners, drive-ins, and dives, but no host. I'm basically the host, but I'm off camera.
Right.
I've got to teach all of these people in seconds how to be on television effectively and convey the things that we need for this fairly formulaic show. But I got to get it out of them like that.
Immediately. Yeah.
Immediately. So
well, also some of that has to do with like, it's similar for us too on a set. You have to kind of read them and know how to talk to them in 100%. An instant. Yeah.
And it is. And it's like with a director, when you're working on a feature, you guys get to sit down and maybe not have a ton of rehearsals, but you have a little bit. And the director is giving you direction. It's telling you, okay, give it to me with this kind of emotion. Maybe that's a little too much. Like, let's ease into the subtlety here and then ramp it up. Like you're getting an actual cadence. You have a conductor that's giving you.
Sometimes we have it from all kinds of people, including, the writer. And
that's very true.
It's the same for you. You're filtering all that into. I get it.
But it's also like an orchestra. Like, there's a conductor, but there's also the lead violinist over here that's dragging you somewhere else. And it's like, I'm third chair violin. I got to follow this guy, even though
I love the musical reference. Thank you.
But it's true. It's like, and people don't know if they haven't been in an orchestra, they don't know. Like I sat first chair for sight reading and saxophone because I was good at sight reading, but then I was third chair for everything else. So I got to follow this other schmuck. When he goes off the rails, I'm with him. Like you got to make the other guy look good. That's part of, as a producer, what I have to do collaboration wise is I'm always there to make someone else look good. I'm there to give the DP a moment to shine by telling him, okay, man, these 2 shots, it's just a static cross and a wide. Don't know. We don't have time for that. But now, hey, I need that macro slow-mo close-up on this, man. Like, give me, dude, compress the background, give me the sunset, like fading out, but blurry, like give me the art, you know, put in the tobacco grad and make this thing look all Michael Bay. Like, do your thing, bro. And when you're producing and directing, you have to know what the color palette is. You have to know what brushes are sitting there next to your canvas. And you have to have a vision of what the canvas is supposed to be. Either what somebody told you it's supposed to be, because you got to paint for them now with all of these tools, or what you imagine it to be, because like, man, if I give them my art, they're going to love it. And
or
you take those risks, but at the same time, that's what, as a producer, I do. I'm not doing anything other than collaborating with people. I'm putting the canvas together, but it's somebody else's brushstroke. It's somebody else's paint. It's somebody else's concept of what the picture is supposed to be.
You love the challenges almost from the inside out of how I perceive them, being in front of the camera. The behind the camera and the front of the camera, it's like turning the sweater inside out for the most part, but you receive things the same way that I do. It is that shift of energy and making adjustments and kind of making fast problem solving emotionally and logically to work with every element that's on the set. Like, it's not just about the part. It's not just about producing. There's like all of these things. There's lighting, there's sound, there's stage direction, there's the director, there's the producer, there's probably admin or CEOs of the studio. They're making these little micro decisions here and there, and you have to adjust to them. I love it. I know you do too. I can tell, like, your face lights up. I love that environment.
It's a challenge. Like, and I've picked up so many things along the way. Like, when I do one of these stupid reality shows, I can call them stupid reality shows because my goal is, when they hire me, it's a stupid reality show. Okay. And by the time it's done, it's my passion project. I want to turn it into that thing that is okay. I don't like putting my name on stuff that sucks. And maybe one of these days I'll tell you guys some of the things I've taken my name off of, because I have.
Yes. Yeah. We're going to name drop eventually.
I've taken my name off of one show and one multi-platinum record that I do not want to be associated with, because I don't care about those people or their art or what they did. And I don't want to be associated with it.
Fair.
And you have to have certain standards, but at the same time, it's like, bring me anything. My goal is, by the time it's done, like, I want to be good with it. And I'm very happy with a lot of the stuff on my resume, because it meant something to me by the time I was done with it. I put enough into it. I took it in a direction that I felt really good about. Like, especially at the NFL, what they handed me was crazy. My best friend left me with this huge project. And I put diversity into the cast. I created stuff that I wanted to. And it was at the NFL, one of the toughest places in the world to do it. And anybody from there listening to this, they know what I'm talking about. They know it's true.
Those are my clients for a while. I had a lot of athletes and entertainers, and I did a lot of babysitting. I learned a lot about it.
And it's the NFL. And anybody who works for the NFL, if they're being honest, they'll tell you they love it and they hate it. Right. There's so much to love about it, but also it's the shield, as they say. It's the shield. There's this history, this legacy behind it, and this pile of money. Like, the NFL itself is its own Illuminati. Like, it is ancient in lore and history and detail. And one of the craziest things we did, and I have it somewhere in here, they let us, for the first time, modify the shield for the fantasy football logos that we did.
Wow, that has to go through so many hands.
Huge. Like, and this was right before I got there. And then they basically handed me the fantasy football department and this new logo. And I was like, oh my God, you guys are breaking from this tradition, and part of it is coming into my lap. This is insane. Wow. But I took that and it was like, okay, I'm going to take pride in this, even though my friend that got me, brought me in to do the project, he left. I was stuck there by myself, not knowing anything about it. But it was like, you just mold it and you just start somewhere. And if some of it doesn't go right, what are you going to do?
Right.
But hopefully at the end of the project, you want to keep your name on it. It means something to you. It was good. Sometimes you have the ability to do that. Sometimes you don't.
One question. If you were to give advice to somebody who's trying to get into the industry to do what you do, what would you say is the number one quality that they have to have? For me, it's like confidence.
For me, it's what I said before. It's you have to, and confidence is part of it. You have to be prepared for luck. You have to get lucky. There's luck involved in the entertainment industry. You got to be right place, right time, right person is looking for that thing that you don't even know they're looking for.
Right.
But then you have to capitalize on it yourself.
Yeah.
You got to show up. You got to do the work. You got to make them put their faith and trust in you. Even when I'm doing these reality shows, you know how much a reality show costs? It costs somewhere between $100,000 to $1 million an episode.
Depending
That's somebody else's
what it
money.
Is, who's the lead. Yeah.
Right. That's not my money.
Yeah.
I got to be prepared.
So that's the part.
You're giving me $300,000 to make an episode of TV. Okay, that's
you
me
need to be
lucky.
responsible with it.
I got to be prepared for that.
Sure.
You got to know what you're doing, and you got to go in. Don't BS people. Go in and do the work. Put in the time, put in the effort, and genuinely care about it. People see those things. So my advice is always going to be prepared for luck. That has to be the thing for me. So
yeah, for sure.
Here's the thing I want to do so we can wrap up this episode. We need picks of the week. We gotta shine the spotlight on something that we think is cool. So, Lisa, what is your pick of the week? What do you
I think
find
are cool? I think everything's cool to some degree. I think everything's cool. So, okay, I was opening files on my computer and going back through all of the creative stuff that I did during pandemic. You know, we were like locked down, not allowed to work, not allowed to go anywhere, and man, I got busy. I was sewing stuff and making videos and singing for the first time in years. And I was going through all my videos. I'm like, it was an absurd amount of content that I created in that amount of time. And I was looking at my bookshelf. I have 14 published photography books now. Self-published, which means I sat down, like the trips that I took around the world that I got, that I have like no addictions. That's the only thing I spend my money on is organic food. And if I can, travel. Those are my things. I would go and I would like document the entire trip, come back, and then spend, 5 to 8 months paginating it and then publishing it. And I would get a copy for myself and a copy for my folks so they could go on the trip from Cleveland. And I'm looking through it, and I'm like, holy shit, like I've taken a lot of photographs, a lot. You need one for your wall.
Oh.
Name it, man.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely, I do.
Creativity is my pick. Always creativity. It'll always be my pick. It's always exciting. I love art and entertainment. Love it, love it, love it.
I'm going to pick a person this week.
Yay.
That is so unsung, and it's totally random because I was listening to a thing the other day called the Desert Sessions, which is the guys from why am I blanking on the name now? Queens of the Stone Age. Oh, yeah. It's a Josh Homme project, right? I don't even know how you say his guy's name. Anyway, there's this drummer, Josh Freeze. He's done so much stuff, but you don't know that he's done it. But he's the guy that Dave Grohl calls to play drums for him. Right. He's the guy that Josh Homme calls to play drums for him. And he's the drummer on this thing, the Desert Sessions. You know, he plays with Atomic Punks, but I met him in the studio back in the day, and he would come in on sessions and he would be just the go-to guy. Like everybody, all the famous rock stars know who this dude is, but you don't know who he is.
Right.
Like he played with Perfect Circle, I think, for a while, and he's played with all these amazing things. So this guy, Josh Freeze, is my pick of the week just because I think he's an amazing musician. And the craziest thing I ever heard about was they were on Warped Tour or something. They were in Australia, and Chad Sexton, the drummer from 311, something happened to him. And they were like, crap, what do? We don't have a drummer. Josh was there with some other band, and they were like, Josh, do you know any of these songs? Like, can we do 3 or 4 songs tomorrow? He's like, no, dude, I know the whole album, man. I'll go and listen to it in the trailer. I got you.
Awesome.
He went out the next day, performed the entire set the way that they had laid it out, and did it for like 3 more weeks on the tour until Chad could come back.
So the
So
coolest thing about that, I love it when really creative, brilliant, talented people give props to other
yeah.
really brilliant, talented, creative people. I just, yes, man, that. Tell our stories.
And
Tell our
this guy,
stories.
and it was just a random thing because I found this music that I didn't even know existed. So
Yeah.
go if you're on Apple Music or Spotify, go find Desert Sessions. It's a bunch
Yeah.
of the Queens of the Stone Age and Eagles of Death Metal and Foo Fighters and Josh and a few just
Very
like
cool.
their homies. They've done 11 of these things. They go out into the desert and they just record.
So
They don't care about people listening to it. It's not for the radio or whatever. And the songs are as great as anything on a Foo Fighters record or a Queens of the
nice.
Stone Age album. It's great stuff. So go
So
listen
this
to
is what we're going to make this about. We are going to invite people on the show who are in the Greige area, our journeyman performers, entertainers, writers, directors, whatever the hell, whatever, whoever wants to be on the show, and we're going to tell their stories from their perspective, good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. I know we both have a whole handful of people we'd love to invite on the show. If you've watched this, we got an email that you can send requests to, questions you might want to answer on the show. It's GATMpod@gmail.com. We've got our YouTube channel where these are all going to be posted. This one was fun because Justin and I have wanted to do this for so long, and there was really only one person for me, and I guess one person for you, that we wanted to interview, and that was each
I'm
other.
your biggest fan. I'm literally your biggest
fan.
fan. Who else could do that? I mean, come on.
I'm your biggest fan. I think we're going to have so much fun. I think this is going to be great for people to, hear the other side. They see all the celebrity stuff, but they never hear about everybody else. So this is it, man. This is what we're going to do.
This is the real side. It's totally what we're going to do. Thank you for doing this,
Thank
Lisa.
you,
I appreciate it.
guys.
Thank you for having
I love you.
the sending out the brain waves of like, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. Yeah. Look, this is what it takes. People
thank you for
creative people
you.
have to have creative, good ideas. And then the being prepared part, you got to go and execute. So Lisa and I spent some time trying to figure out all the bells and whistles and designing gray and beige, and Lisa did
all that stuff. And it will change because I know we're both perfectionists. So
this is a work in progress, guys. But thank you so much for joining for these couple, and we will be back soon with more and more amazing guests from the Greige areas out there in the industry of entertainment. Thank you all for joining.
Excellent. Mwah.